Hello everyone, it's Dylan from Yu-Gi-Oh! Everything, and welcome back to another Yu-Gi-Oh! 7's episode review. This time we will be going over episode 14 of Yu-Gi-Oh! 7's, our first non-duel episode. Kind of. I mean, we did have a little bit of a duel between Kaizo and the Goha drones. We'll get a little more into that later on in this review, but of course, there was no actual duel in terms of seeing new cards. That was a pure off-screen duel, and because they were drones dueling each other, I guess they were able to kind of simulate what was happening with the cards that they had. So that's why when we saw them, it was just draw, turn end, draw, turn end. So that was kind of unique and definitely different, but I think the Kaizo moments of this episode were, for me, some of the most interesting plot moments of this episode. Maybe not the best moments, but there was one moment in particular that caught my attention with Kaizo. Actually, we'll start right there. Generally speaking, this was a kooky episode. It was a really wacky episode. There were some parts of it where I was genuinely laughing. I can't remember. There was one part of this episode, I think it was when Kaizo went up in the air and started singing as he was transforming into like this dueling human machine, where I was eating my lunch and I almost choked because I was just so caught off guard by the monotone robotic singing and the song that he was performing as he was transforming into this dueling Gundam. That really caught me off guard. So the episode was definitely different. It was just a very wacky episode. It was like a mixture, I've seen people say, of Gundam and Food Wars. And if you exclude the Kaizo dueling part and you showed any person who was unfamiliar with Yu-Gi-Oh! 7's this episode, nobody in a million years would guess this was Yu-Gi-Oh! Because it doesn't look like your traditional Yu-Gi-Oh! And there was no card games really referenced throughout the entire episode at all. So it was just a very it was a transitional episode from the first 13 to the next, who knows, however many, as we embark on this new journey. And I think we need an episode like this every now and then. You know, we were just on edge the entire time during the 3v3 between Team Yuga and Team Roa. This was a nice kind of slice of life episode that we've not seen in a little bit, so I really did like that and appreciate that. And these kind of episodes are something that I wish Yu-Gi-Oh! Vrains did a little more, and I think it would have been nice to see these kind of episodes, these more non-dueling, relaxed episodes. Obviously, you're not going to get a lot in Yu-Gi-Oh! And the whole point of the anime is the card game, but seeing them every now and again is always really nice. But to go on the Kaizo portion of this episode, Kaizo is strapped to a motorbike against his will, and he flies out of the, Yuga's HQ, and later on we learn that Yuga strapped him to this bike because Yuga's trying to transform him into this Gundam. That massive Gundam that we saw at the very beginning of episode 1, and that we see in the opening, you wonder if maybe that is Kaizo. I mean, it very well could be possible, or a modification of Kaizo, but what was really interesting is Kaizo gets pulled over by these three Goha drones. They duel. The Goha drones after a while just say, okay, you won, and they leave, and Kaizo looks dead. And we find out later on that he's just out of battery, he's out of energy. But what was really weird, and again, this is why I love Yu-Gi-Oh! 7's, because it's something so minor, but what we know about this show so far is that they really do not leave much to the imagination in terms of going back to things that don't really add up or make sense, like that really creepy, super AI in episode 6, the ramen episode. And Kaizo, after the duel, refers to Roman as Roman-tan and not Roman-chan. I might have been one of the only people that noticed that. I don't know if you guys noticed that, but that was really interesting given the timing of it all, because that's right after he's staring aimlessly, which was kind of a really uneasy scene after the three Goha drones left. And I know Kaizo is this comedic relief character, F Kaizo, I get it, he's this annoying robot that just flip-flops between sides, but I just wonder if Goha has a way in now. Like, I really wonder if Goha was able to kind of infiltrate Kaizo's systems, and they kind of now have a man on the inside, if you will. That's what I kind of am leaning towards, especially Kaizo referring to Roman as Roman-tan instead of Roman-chan. It's one of those very minor things that not a lot of people will pick up on, but because Yu-Gi-Oh! 7's has been so tightly written, it just makes me think that that is a little hint that something is not quite right with Kaizo after this duel. And even right after, we see Yugioh talking to Kaizo, and Yugioh is like, so how was it dueling those drones? And Kaizo's like, oh, it was a truly wonderful, amazing experience. And they even show Yugioh's face, and Yugioh looks a little inquisitive. I would say. He looks a little like, all right, something might not be right here. And then they see Rook, they see Luke, and that kind of interrupts his train of thought. But the Kaizo moments of this episode were really, really interesting to me, and that's something to keep an eye on, because if they go back a little later on in this show, and those drones were able to somehow infiltrate Kaizo, and that leads to Goha keeping a closer tab on Yugioh and his friends, do not be surprised, especially if maybe it does have to do with that human that was in the supercomputer at the end of episode 13, the one from the ramen shop. So in terms of plot, that was the most interesting part of the episode, and I know a lot of people probably didn't even analyze it that deep. That's probably why you come to my reviews, because I overanalyze everything. But yeah, please let me know your thoughts on those scenes, if you think there was anything weird going on there, or if you think it's just me typically overanalyzing. The comedy, Gakuto was MVP of this episode, man. Gakuto can fix roofs, he can play on a rugby team, he's the school council president, and now all of a sudden, he can cook. He's some master chef, and I love how he gets his two servants, his two assistants, to give Roman all of the items that she possibly needs. One of the more humorous moments is when it happened a couple times as Roman's trying to cook. You just get these explosions in the kitchen, and as someone like myself who cannot cook to save my life, I am a horrible chef. I really related with Roman in this episode because I can't cook. And her one line of, you know, I'm really good at eating food, but I'm not good at cooking food, man, that hit deep. I mean, that that was such an accurate line by Roman. But again, she really does value, and I think that's something that you can take from her character. She really does value Rook as a friend, because if she didn't, she wouldn't be going to these measures to try and bring him back and keep this group alive. So that was something that could get lost in the comedy of it, why she's even doing this in the first place, and that's because she doesn't want to lose her friendship with Rook. She doesn't want to be the reason that this close group of 4 friends splits apart, and she tried to apologize. Rook didn't want to have any of it, and she's going out of her way to try to get to Rook's heart in a different way by cooking curry rice, which is Rook's favorite dish. And again, one of the more humorous moments is when she starts listing off the ingredients, you know, the quote-unquote spices that she added to the dish, and Gakuto just interrupts her, and he's like, that's the recipe for gunpowder. And there's one burning question I have. Why on earth did Roa have the ingredients to gunpowder in his apartment? Those, like sulfur, like those are not common things that you would find in most houses, especially in the possession of 11 or 12-year-olds. So that's a little concerning that Roa had all of the ingredients to make gunpowder in his apartment. But, you know, I digress. That was one of the more humorous parts of the episode. And I love how Roman really tried to play the whole innocent, like, oh, you know, it's my first time cooking. And I love how after, like, her 4th time saying it, Gakuto was just like, that's no excuse to do any of the things that you are doing. Like, even if this is your first time cooking, you are literally not even using common sense. Like, the things that you are doing make absolutely no sense. Like, she's calling the microwave the rice cooker, and she clearly just has no conception of food or kitchenware or anything like that. I mean, I don't think I would even be that lost personally in a kitchen, but I just like how on like the 3rd time of her trying to play off that excuse, Gakuto was just like, no, that's not an excuse for the things that you are doing, because they don't even make sense. So that was really, really funny, and I'm glad he said something. But Gakuto was really, really awesome in this episode. He had the fro moment, which was also a great moment where his hair just went in that purple fro. And then, of course, the dramatic moments when the curry comes out blue. Roman eats it. She loves it. Gakuto and his servants are just... I just loved Gakuto's assistants in this episode, because they were... At times, they were just like, you know what? If Gakuto dies, we're going to follow Gakuto till death do us part if we have to. And Gakuto, at one point, was like... Roman was trying to get him to try the curry, and... I think it was Ranosuke. I have to do a better job of remembering their name, but the girl one, Emma Besso's voice actress, was just like, Roman, you should have it first. You should try it first. And Gakuto just looks over at her and he's like, thanks, that was a close one. So, like, I just love the unity even between those three. And again, the character interactions has truly been so fun to watch early on in Sevens. Eventually, Rook goes to the apartment. He loves it. The blue curry reminds him of Dragears. The episode ends in a very comedic way with Roa's apartment. In fact, the entire building, as Roman tried to add some more spice to give the second batch another kick, which she absolutely should not have done. The entire building just floods with curry. And Roa, who has added some new cards to his deck, pretty interesting and pretty cool thing for him to say right there, sees his apartment and sees his entire building essentially on fire just via curry. So that was a pretty funny way to end the episode, and poor Roa. That is what Roa gets, though, for all the crap that Roa put his cousin Roman and Yuga's crew through in the last 4 episodes. That is exactly what he deserves. I have never seen justice and karma in a more fitting way than that, with blue curry that his own cousin made, just completely flooding and ruining his entire apartment and the entire building. So that was karma for Roa, but a really funny way to end the episode. And all in all, it was just a really funny episode. It was a kooky episode, man. There wasn't too much in the plot, but look for that Kaizo thing, because I don't know, something was a little off with Kaizo right after he dueled those drones. Maybe I'm the only one that felt that, but that's the main point in terms of storyline that I want to hear from you guys. We know Yuga is dueling some fishery, some fishermen next episode, the captain of the fishery school, so that'll be interesting. Lightning Bolt Condor, most likely, actually definitely, in the next episode. Thank you all so much for watching. Please let me know your thoughts on episode 14. And a special thank you to my Platinum tier patrons, Horace Maye, Goosey Q, Panther J, Smith620, Blue Maiden 28, Jarrett Buller, and Aura Dragon, and to my Diamond tier patrons, Jesse Wood, Latrell Smith, Pegasus Seiya, and Brandon Gomez, and to my Egyptian God tier patrons, Sin Cloud and Chase Connelly. Thank you to everyone who supports me on Patreon and who is a channel member. I cannot tell you how much I appreciate it. I stream over on Twitch, twitch.tv/SuperDeepRot. It is linked down below. I would really appreciate it if you followed me over on there. I am live every Monday and Thursday night. Thank you guys all so much for watching. I will talk to you all things Yu-Gi-Oh! 7s down below, and I hope you have an amazing day.